Welcome to my channel. My name's Bissy, and if you've ever wondered what the show changed from the novel for Interview with the Vampire, but you haven't read the book, then this is the video for you. This is part one of a series of videos I'd like to make detailing the differences between the novel and the show. Now, this video is primarily for people who haven't read the book, but have wondered what it contains and what was changed. I'll be discussing only the differences in season 1 of Interview with the Vampire, and certainly not everything that the show left out from the novel. Okay, so the only way that I know how to do this is to break this video into little sections. And if you like this type of video and would like to see me do more, let me know by hitting like and subscribe, and I'll be sure to keep making them. Okay, so with that said, let's get into the video. I guess a good place to start would be the interview itself. So number 40. There are 2 interviews that take place in the show. The first in September 1973 and the second in Dubai in July 2022. However, in the novel, there was just the one interview. Number 39. Instead of a chance night of drinking together in that bar, as they do in the show, Louis actually stalks Daniel, although Daniel does believe that the interview itself was his idea. Number 38. Louis is alone throughout the entire interview. We don't meet Armand in the novel until Paris, but Armand and Louis do stay together after they leave Paris and break up not too long before this interview takes place. Number 37. Instead of the 60-something-year-old experienced journalist we meet in season 1, Daniel was actually in his early 20s when he meets Louis. And speaking of Louis, that takes us to number 36. Louis's race is changed in the show. Novel Louis is of French descent. Number 35. He's also 25 when we meet him, and when he is turned. He's 33 when he's turned in the show. Number 34. Instead of the brothel owner, as he is in the show, Louis is a plantation owner in the book. In fact, he owns 2 plantations. Number 33. Now, the makeup of Louis's family isn't changed too much. However, Louis had to defend Paul against his mother and sister, who wanted to marry him off. Number 32. And instead of the lovely conversation that Louis and Paul share on the roof after Grace's wedding, Louis and Paul actually did fight the night of Paul's passing in the book. Everyone heard it. However, Louis never told them what they actually argued about. And spoiler, they fought about Paul's visions. Number 31. Okay, so the time frame, of course, for the show was changed. The show spans from the 1910s right up until present day. Well, July 2022. And remember, this is just season 1 we're covering today. As opposed to the novel, where Louis' story begins in 1791. Number 30. Now, interestingly, Lestat didn't travel to America alone. Number 29. He had his father with him for the entire time, but I've got more on that later. Number 28. Before Louis and Lestat are driven out of the Dupont de Lac home, Lestat asks Louis to take his father out, as he just can't do it. So on Louis and Lestat, Lestat is obviously taken with Louis pretty much immediately in both the novel and the show. Number 27. But Louis' vulnerability is a little bit more overt in the novel, where instead of Lestat seeing Louis pull a knife out on his brother in the street, Louis is actually wandering the streets of Louisiana and drinking too much following Paul's passing. Number 26. Lestat actually fed on Louis on one of those nights, but didn't drain him completely. Number 25. The altar scene where Lestat tells Louis that he loves him and offers him the opportunity to live as he truly is, with Lestat as his companion, and Louis, in turn, shakily takes Lestat's head in his hands and accepts with a kiss. Now, just as a side note, I've always seen that as like their wedding day. I don't know, that's just me. It is both terrifying and stunning in equal measure. But in the novel, Lestat came back to Louis that same night that he fed on him, and Louis then accepts Lestat's offer after seeing one last sunrise. Number 24. Unlike the show, Louis and Lestat never actually have a full-on romantic relationship in the novel, Interview with the Vampire. Number 23. In fact, the vampires in the novels can't actually have intercourse. Number 22. It's obvious that Lestat is obsessed with, and maybe even in love with Louis from the very start. But it is certainly not reciprocated. Not from the start. So we don't get the same jealousy and other relationship dynamics that we get in the show from Lestat and especially Louis in the novel. Number 21. In the novel Interview with the Vampire, the pair move into Louis's house instead of Lestat's townhouse after Lestat turns Louis. Number 20. In fact, Louis tells Daniel that Lestat doesn't have any money, that he is a leech and he really enjoys spending Louis's money. Number 19. Louis has slaves and they dislike Lestat intensely. Louis says that Lestat is brash and crude, almost without house training at all. Number 18. Louis Lestat and Lestat's father live in the Dupont de Lac home, just outside of New Orleans, for years, before the slaves get suspicious of the fact that Louis and Lestat don't eat the meals that they are preparing for them, and that many of their number are going missing, thanks to Lestat. Number 17. It's after the loss of one of their lives that the slaves riot and the house is set alight. Number 16. Louis and Lestat must leave, and this is when Lestat asks Louis to finish his father for him, as he just cannot do it. They run to a neighbour who Louis has been visiting as a ghostly figure. She gives them a room for the day, and they emerge the next night. Number 15. It is after this that the pair move into New Orleans proper and take the beautiful townhouse on Rue Royale. So now this brings us to Claudia. Number 14. So Claudia is 5 in the novel versus the teenager she is in the show. And as it turns out, this being point number 14, she is actually 14 in the show. Number 13. The show also changed Claudia's race to Creole. Now, I believe that that's what her race is, but if I'm wrong, please do let me know. Number 12. Another huge change in the show is that Claudia doesn't leave their home for 7 years, and therefore doesn't encounter and ultimately suffer Bruce. Now, let me just say that I really hope that in season 3, there's justice. So when it comes to Claudia and Louis' relationship, it is a lot more uncomfortable in the book. Yes, there is a paternal relationship, but also a very uncomfortable side to their companionship too. But I'll cover that in more detail in season 2 as it becomes more present in Paris. But for now, Louis never forgives himself for bringing Claudia to Lestat's attention. Number 10. The circumstances of Claudia's turning are very different in the novel. As opposed to Louis rescuing her from a burning building, there were riots happening caused by one of Louis' kills. Claudia appeals to Louis when he is very, very hungry. Number 9. He has sustained himself on rats and not much else. He's weak when he sees a sickly, destitute young girl. His intense thirst overrides everything in him, and he feeds on her. He regrets it, but it's too late. However, Louis does not drain Claudia. Number 8. Lestat has been following Louis and sees all of this. Number 7. Then, Lestat takes Claudia from the hospital where she's recovering and brings her back to their townhouse, where he presents her to Louis and then changes her, rather than Louis begging Lestat to change her for him in the show. Now, Claudia and Lestat, even in the book, do not have the best relationship. And just like the show, it didn't start adversarially, but they did get there. Number 6. Just like the show, Claudia plans to take Lestat out with poison, but in the novel, it is she who wields the knife. Number 5. Lestat actually feeds on one of the twins. Number 4. The plan doesn't actually take place at Mardi Gras. In fact, there isn't much spectacle to it at all. It's a lot quieter in their home. Number 3. The trio don't actually have a furnace at their home in the novel, so that is not an option for Louis and Claudia once the deed is done. Number 2. So they decide to dump Lestat in the swamp. And number 1. And unlike the show, Lestat actually returns to Louis and Claudia after they've done what they've done. Half dead, and this is before they flee New Orleans for Europe. So that's where I'm going to leave it for this video. And if you haven't read the book, I really hope that this list does encourage you to maybe give it a try. But if not, that's okay. I hope to come back with a part 2. Are there any changes that the show made that you'd like me to dig into a little deeper? And if you like this video, let me know by hitting like and subscribe for more like it. I've also reacted recently to Heated Rivalry, and I'm currently reacting to Bridgerton Season 4 and Heartstopper, so do check those out. And if you'd like to support me and the channel, please do think about joining my Clean Club. Thank you so much for watching, and I cannot wait to see you down in the comments. And until next time, thanks, bye!